Hi everybody, Nick here, and I got a review for you today of the Three Sisters Forge Beast pocket knife. And I actually put up an initial review, but I've had some experiences since, so this is going to replace that one. So let's just jump into it and talk about the good and the bad and the ugly of this knife. So the good, first and foremost for me, is the size. As you can see next to your Delica here, this is a smaller blade. It's a 3-inch blade by any standard, so it's pretty universally legal outside of really silly locations, which is nice if you work or live in an area where you got restrictions going on. This is an overbuilt folder that you can still carry no matter what, which is kind of nice. Second off, it's a very pretty knife, at least in my mind. I really like this water jet texture, which has a little bit of grip, but not so much that it tears into your hands. I like the logo, I like the overall. It's just nicely built, and the handle is big enough that you've got some good ergonomics to it. The only exception to the ergonomics, another of the good things, this has a deep carry clip, but the clip is kind of wide, so it digs into your hand a little bit here. It's not bad, and compared to, say, the Shabazz, the ergonomics are just astoundingly good here. But, I could stand for this clip to be a little bit less wide, and maybe ergonomically designed a little bit differently. But for the most part, it's really nice. It gives you, even though the blade is fairly small, it gives you a pretty big area to grip onto, which is, again, very, very good. The other big thing that really blew me away about this is when I got out of the box, I had an issue, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But when I emailed the creator of the knife, the guy emailed me back in 8 minutes. That's not a joke, that's not an exaggeration, that's saying that 8 minutes after I sent the guy an email, I had an email coming back to me, which is pretty damned astounding. And he was very nice and very kind, and we had an email conversation, and he said, here's how to fix your problem, and if you can't fix your problem, send it to me, and I'll fix it for you for free and get it back in the mail the same damn day. You can't argue at all with that. So I'm really pretty jazzed about the maker of this. He seems like a nice guy who's going to stand behind his product, which is good, and frankly is a lot more than you can get for other custom knife makers, out in the world. Some are good, some are bad, but this one seems to be good. Bad on this blade. First off, this isn't a bad thing, but it's an information thing. This is a very thick blade. Here, I'll compare it to two other knives. This is the Graham Razel Mid-Tech, one of my favorite knives, probably my favorite, let's just be honest here. And you can see that this blade is only a little hair thinner than your Graham Razel. And compared to something like your Delica, this is a very, very thick blade, which means that it's great for some uses, but it's not a very good knife for, like, cutting up an apple or something like that. You want this to be used in a situation where you're going to be beating on it and you need a little bit of strength. So if you're breaking down a bunch of cardboard, or if you're going out in the woods and whittling or something like that, or, if you need to put it in a tree for some reason, this is a good knife to do that with. This is an overbuilt folder, and so it's not necessarily what you want every day running around the office. For that, I prefer a Wharncliffe blade anyways, but, that's something to keep in mind. Second, I could do with a little bit less aggressive knurling on your thumb stud here. It tears into your finger a little bit, but I'm whiny like that. The third issue is the fact that out of the box, this came kind of poorly adjusted. But that was fixable, and that's kind of rare. This knife actually has a little bit of an innovation. Oh, by the way, it's a very smooth knife. I didn't talk about that, but it's really, really smooth. It's more so than the Shabazz I just got rid of. So, that says something. It's not the easily falls shut kind of smooth yet, but it's getting there. And I'm breaking it in, and it's getting better and better each day. So that's kind of a nice thing. But anyways, out of the box, this knife had a situation of lock rock, which meant that when I locked it shut, if I apply pressure in this direction to the blade, like I'm cutting into something, I felt that the lock bar kind of popped free. It was no longer in contact with the blade. Mind you, when I let pressure off, it fell back onto the lock bar. My hand wasn't at risk, but it's still something that's a little bit disconcerting. And so I emailed the maker, and what he told me is about this little guy. And this is his innovation here. It's patented, and I hope you can see this. There's a little hole in your stop pin here. The stop pin is what causes the blade to stop moving when it locks into place. And your stop pin on this knife is actually asymmetrical. So when you turn the stop pin, it cams a little bit forward or back, which means that you can make the lockup a little bit earlier or later on this knife, which is good. I mean, it adjusts for wear. It's an interesting innovation. And so all you need to do to adjust it is you unscrew these two screws here partially, and then you stick some kind of a tool, it's just a 1mm hole, into it, and then you move the tool this way or this way to rotate your stop pin until your lockup's where you want it. And out of the box, that was not done right. Whether it's because the maker had done it poorly or because this had been returned to the knife retailer prior and that person had done it poorly, but something meant that out of the box it had a lot of lock rock. And it had some other issues too, just the lockup was really early and not that secure. Once I adjusted that stop pin and then Loctited it in place using my blue Loctite here, which is a nice little thing to have around if you're a knife person, helps you keep screws where you want them, like pivots and things like that. Once I got it adjusted, the lockup is perfect. It's at 50%. There's not any lock stick with a little bit of Sharpie. And, you know, it's smooth, it's happy. So the knife is great now, but out of the box it needed some adjustment. And that kind of comes to the ugly thing. And the only real major knock I have on this knife, aside from the clip ergonomics, is the fact that it needs that adjustment, and it doesn't just work. Because the best tools in life are boring. I firmly believe that. And this knife is probably my favorite. This is the Graham Razel GMT, and this knife is boring. It's a slab of blade with two handles, one of which has a lock bar built into it, and then 3 screws. That's it. That's all you're adjusting. You're not adjusting a damn thing. It just comes out of the box simple and perfect. As opposed to this guy, which comes out of the box almost good, and you need to fiddle with it a bit. And I don't like that. Honestly, it's probably not going to turn me off of this knife. I still like it a lot, but I would much rather it have come out of the box perfect, and it's not going to go out of adjustment. It's not going to require more love or help or anything like that. It just be in the right place, set up well, and there'd be no other possible way for it to be. So that's kind of my knock on it, is that compared to something that's very simple and damn near perfect, this knife, after adjustment, is very complex and damn near perfect. And considering that this is $300 and this is $375, I feel like asking for simple and perfect on this guy too is not out of line. That said, it's a very, very nice knife now that I've got it in adjustment. And considering I think it was the first effort by this knife maker, and I'm not all that surprised that he's still working out some kinks here, and that he's still relying a little bit on these hacks in order to get the knives to be in perfect shape, versus John Graham's been doing this for many years, and is very, very good at it. So I think this is a good freshman effort, and I've heard very similar things from other people, like on Reddit and whatnot. Some say, oh, it's a great knife, but it's really hard to stay in adjustment, or, oh, mine never quite worked. This is a pretty recent version, pretty recent construction by the maker here, and I think he's getting better. Because this one can dial in perfectly, you just need to do some dialing. Took me about 45 minutes to get it perfect, versus perfect out of the box. It's up to you which you want. If you're willing to mess with it, then great. This is a great knife for you. So, in summary, good size, good looks, nice deep carry clip, pretty good ergonomics, clip aside, and really, really great maker, responsive and pleasant to work with. On the bad side, the blade shape is designed for certain tasks and not for others. Could use some better knurling, and the fact that you have to adjust this knife to get it perfect is a little frustrating if you're looking for perfection out of the box. But that's life. I'm Nick. I hope this has been helpful. I will call this knife a beauty for now. Maybe if it goes back out of adjustment or if I have trouble with it in the future, I'll change that, but I'll let you know if I do. But for now, it's a gem. It's not quite this gem-like. Maybe it's the cut color and clarity are a little less, but, you know, it's still a really nice knife, and it's a great little hard-use knife to have and grab and throw in your pocket for a day outside. Other than that, I hope this is helpful to you, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.